Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Find Your Future panel event on public and non-profit organisations. My name's Ros and I work in the Careers Service. Before our panellists introduce themselves and begin the session, I'd like to go over some basic housekeeping for this session. The event is being recorded and will be available on the Careers Service YouTube channel to watch again at a future date. We understand that some of you may wish to turn off your camera function, although we do encourage as many of you as possible to keep your camera on throughout this session, especially during the Q&A with our panellists. You will notice that you've been automatically muted. Please ensure your microphone stays off during the presentations. After the panellists have finished their presentations, there will be an opportunity for you to ask our panelists questions. You can do this by typing your question within the chat box, or alternatively by clicking on the raise hand function in the reactions tab. After the Q&A, there'll be an opportunity to join a breakout room with each employer so that you have a chance to ask more specific questions if you wish. So here's a brief running order for today's session. There has been a slight change to the running order. So just to let you know that we'll be starting with Changing Lives. We'll then be moving on to Teach First, followed by the NHS Graduate Management Training Scheme. And then finally, we'll have our Civil Service Fast Stream conversation. And also just to mention on there, we do have Teach First, who are our public and non-profit day sponsor for today. Thanks for joining us, and we hope that you enjoy the session. So I'm now going to hand you over to our first panelist, who will introduce themselves. Our first panelist today is Siad Masik.
Hi, so I can start, can I? Hi everyone, good morning. My name is Siad Masik, and I'm a National Volunteer Manager for a charity called Changing Lives. We were previously known as the Cyrenians, but we changed our name because we acquired another charity from the West Midlands called Platform 51 at the time when I started in 2014. So we are now Changing Lives, and we are a national charity. We've got lots of projects, more than 100, and we are celebrating our 50th anniversary. Well, last year, but we should be celebrating this year because of the pandemic. We are 50 years old, and it's really, great achievement. And we are a charity which is supporting homeless people who are struggling with drug and alcohol addictions, people who have problems with domestic violence, social isolation, being released from prisons, and so on. And we are literally helping people who are facing challenging circumstances every day. And we would like them to make positive changes, and we would like to change people's lives. And my role within the charity is to recruit volunteers. If you have never volunteered before, you should try. You can really enjoy that. There are lots of benefits in volunteering. You can have a better social life. You can enjoy knowing that you are really supporting people in need, that you can indeed change somebody's lives. And literally, you can have a better CV. You can have a good reference and so on. And I would recommend everyone to try. There is nothing to lose. Literally, if you try it, if you like it, you enjoy it. If you don't like it, you go to do something else. And just all charities around in the whole country are after your precious time. And I'm really sort of looking forward to see you, some of you, joining Changing Lives as such. Talking about the pandemic, though, we have a great impact on my project. I'm a one-man project, I'm on my own. So I need my volunteers myself as well. And I'm based in the central office in Gateshead, but I mostly work from home, as you presume. But we have lost 300 volunteers in the last 18 months, down from 370, we now have 70 active volunteers. And we are really sort of looking every day to find out who else we can involve actually in supporting our services as such. We have more than 100 projects nationwide and more than 30 projects, more volunteers. Let's say a couple of years ago, our 370 volunteers contributed about 40,000 volunteer hours. And this is translated into the money contributed to the charity to about £300,000. and it's a huge impact that it makes to benefits of our clients that we support and so on. So literally, we've got lots of volunteering roles within the charity. We've got 36 at the moment on our website, and it's very easy to find out about them. Our website is www.changing-lives.org.uk, and you can actually get to the subheading called "How You Get Involved," how to support the charity and so on, and you can find out all of these roles there. Most of them are based in the Northeast. We are heavily based in the Northeast, but some of them, as you presume, are based in Doncaster, York, and so on. So literally, of the roles that we have at the moment, we have a very attractive role in our central office, which could be administration, volunteers supporting our office support team. We've got outreach volunteers who are going to support homelessness teams, try to find out how do they go outside and try to talk to homeless people and try to actually support them in offering the services and so on. We've got activities organizer. We've got a number of our accommodation centers in which we try to engage with our clients or residents in order to try for them to spend their time as useful as possible so they can actually get involved in all sorts of activities. You also have a need for English and maths teacher, for example. Many of our people that we support are not prominent in their skills. They need a little bit of support with their English and maths. So we are looking for such volunteers which could really help them to improve their positions within the society and make them really try to be more prominent in trade to obtain some employment later on and so on. We've got social media volunteer, which is a virtual role. Very interesting. You can sit in your pajamas at home and volunteer, you believe it or not. And most of the charities that I spoke to in the last 18 months have tried to diversify. So literally, instead of going to the projects physically, they can volunteer from home. So virtual role became very popular, and I can tempt you to try to find out more about it, because literally there is no excuse really. You can always do a little bit of volunteering and feel good about yourself, because support people that you need to support is just something to be proud of at the end of the day. There is also a possibility to micro volunteer. If you have never tried that, I recommend you to try this. So you can find yourself, for example, counting the stars for NASA website, and you never know that you may be in a position for the star to be named after you as a volunteer, because you support them to try to go through all of these vast number of stars in our universe and so on. I just slightly digress, but hey, we are in Changing Lives. We are really looking forward to see you around. And as I said, have a look at our website. All of our volunteers are recruited through me. So literally what you need to do, you just need to fill in an application form, 10 minutes of your time. It will come to my inbox, and then I will try to your recruitment. They call it onboarding now in HR, which is a really strange word, but I will take easy on you. Don't worry about that. So literally, there is nothing stopping you. Just try your luck. And as I said, I guarantee you will definitely enjoy that, because when I started to volunteer at the age of 16, I never looked back. And this is something you might want to explore. And as I said, no matter how little time you can spare, you can still do good deeds, and you could put your time, that you might have some free time, into some really good thing to do in your future. So join us, and Changing Lives is looking for you. If you have any questions, there will be question answer time later on, I presume. So I will stay for the duration of this meeting, and please feel free to ask any questions you might have.
That's brilliant, Syed. Thank you very much for that. And now I'd like to hand over to Sophie Thompson with Teach First. So if you're happy to go ahead, Sophie.
Yeah, of course. Hello, everyone. So I'm Sophie. I work in the recruitment team at Teach First, and my role includes specifically actually supporting those from Newcastle University who may be interested in us and looking to apply to us. Then if you did have an offer, I'd also be a point of contact to make sure all your questions are answered ahead of starting. So just to give you a little bit of an overview as to who we are and what we do. So at Teach First, we're a charity working to build a fair education for all. We're also a top grad employer, so we're consistently in the top 10 of that Times Top 100 graduate employer list, and we've been in that list for many years now. So as mentioned, we're working to build a fair education for all, and that is because education in the UK isn't fair. So just to kind of demonstrate this, just with some statistics. So 2 in 5 pupils from more disadvantaged backgrounds won't pass maths GCSE. You know, with maths GCSE, you need that whether you're going on to further education, whether you're going on to apprenticeships. So it's a huge barrier for these pupils. And then even later in life, it obviously affects what kind of jobs they do. Another statistic that I always find really shocking is the fact only 4% of doctors come from working class backgrounds. As someone who's from a working class background, I just feel like that's really not right, and doctors should be, well, all professions should very much represent you know, society, and that is what we're looking to do and looking to change. So at the heart of what we do is our 2-year training program, and this is where we develop students like yourself into inspirational teachers who are as passionate as we are about ending educational inequality, and you'll really be able to make a difference from day one. So our training program starts with 5 weeks summer institute, which is where you'll really develop those key skills such as lesson planning, behaviour management. It's also really social, so we recruit quite a lot who are just finishing uni in their first year out of uni. So it's a great way to make new friends and a nice transition from university to that working world as well. And then you'll start in your school from September. So we source your school placement for you as well, and it will be in a school where you can make a real difference, and you will be paid a salary from your first day in the classroom too. You're supported throughout this time. So although you are in the classroom straight away, you start on an 80% timetable, you have a mentor, so someone really experienced who you'll have hourly one-to-one sessions with. You'll have a development lead, which is a point of contact with us, and that just basically means someone who's taught for many years and now works full time for Teach First, supporting our teachers in the classroom. So they'll visit you in school and they'll give you feedback on your lessons and put plans in place to get you where you need to be. So after your first year, you'll gain your qualified teacher status, which comes with a lovely pay rise. And in your second year, you'll then be returning to that same school. And this is where you can really put those skills into action. So, you know, you've already got those really strong relationships with your colleagues, with your pupils, and this is where you're going to see and really develop and see what a difference you're making as well. At the end of your second year, you will then be finished your postgraduate diploma in education, which is a qualification that we put you through, so that's all fully funded. It's also worth 2/3 of a master's, so if you do want to do further education, you can top that up to a master's with an additional 3rd year, completely up to you. And there's a big element as well of leadership within the PGD and within our programme. So we have quite a lot who go on to senior positions in schools. We've got 93 head teachers, we've got over 2,000 in leadership positions. We run leadership courses for you after the training programme. And we also have a number of different corporate partners who believe in us, but also our trainees, and our trainees who do decide to leave teaching, they do have opportunities there too. So we offer summer internships with the likes of PwC, Accenture, Deloitte, which can result in job offers as well, as we very much believe that this issue affects the wider world, not just schools and teachers. You know, we need to get businesses on board to help them make a difference too. If you are interested, we are very much recruiting, so please do pop an application in as we are filling up. For anyone who's in early years of study as well, we do have taster opportunities, which are a really nice way of getting a feel for teaching. You'll take part in workshops too, so it's a nice way to start developing those transferable skills that employers love. Also, I imagine with the pandemic, it's been quite hard to get work experience, so a nice way to boost your CV with the Times Top grad employer as well. And that's us in a nutshell. I look forward to any questions at the end.
That's great, Sophie. Thank you very much. So we're now going to hand over to Irk, who is going to talk to us about the NHS Graduate Management Training Scheme.
Hi everyone, can you hear me okay? Great, let me try and share my screen for my slides. Right, you should be able to see my screen now. So just to introduce myself, my name is Eric, my pronouns are he and him, and I'm a trainee support manager. Apologies for the subtitles. I'm a trainee support manager in NHS England and Improvement in the Graduate Management Training Scheme, and we're currently accepting applications for our September 22 intake. So I will talk you a bit, I'll talk you through the scheme a bit. One second, right. Okay, so the NHS has been going on since July 1948, almost 73 years, and the Graduate Management Training Scheme has been running for around 63 years now. So quite an established scheme, and the NHS itself treats around 1 million patients every 36 hours. And we do employ more than 1.5 million staff members. And the NHS itself is distributed across more than 8,000 separate organizations with 350 different occupations. So by joining the NHS graduate scheme, you will have a lot of different opportunities to choose from for your future career. And we do have more than a 120 billion pound budget. So I guess you can see the kind of impact we're having in healthcare across the nation. If you were to join the NHS Graduate Management Training Scheme, we would be operating under certain values. So we are working together for our patients. We offer respect and dignity. We are committed to quality of care. We also strive to be a very compassionate employer, striving to improve lives, and everyone counts in our community. So we are a very inclusion-minded organization as well. So just to give you some more background about the scheme. So we are a multi-award winning training scheme. We're number 3 in the Times Top 100 list, and we are looking to recruit around 300 trainees for our September 22 cohort, and applications are now open until the 13th of November. So that gives you around 2 weeks to apply if you're interested. Apologies, my screen is struggling a bit. Right, so the GMTS itself, to tell you a bit more about the scheme. So you can choose from 6 different specialism areas. So you can choose to specialize on general management, finance, human resources, health informatics, health analysis, and policy and strategy. And the experience itself involves on-the-job training and experience. So you are placed within several different NHS organizations to undertake around 2-year-long placements and a flexi placement, which essentially is more of a flexible opportunity where you identify a separate organization to join for 2 months, something that you want to experience in addition to your formal placements. And it could be within the public sector, private sector. It's largely shaped by you. And you do also, whilst you're working in NHS organizations, you also complete academic qualifications to help you become more qualified in your chosen specialism as well. And we do you can get professional memberships, you can be a part of action learning sets. So we offer a lot of different opportunities, such as experiential learning groups where you come together with other trainees, reflect on your learning experiences, and are supported with your placements. And the duration of the scheme is 2-year long. It's a bit longer if you want to specialize in finance. And you do start off with a £25,000 salary, a 27-day annual leave package, pension scheme, and the pay also gets uplifted after your first year if you are performing to a satisfactory level in your placement. I will skip a few slides. So the recruitment itself, so we require that as a graduate scheme, we require that you have a 2-2 degree in any subjects, and we also require legal permission to work in the UK, and then you can be placed anywhere in England. You will be asked to choose 3 preferred regions, and then we allocate you based on your preferences and our availability. And the recruitment itself consists of 3-stage assessment. So the first stage is an online strengths-based assessment, which will take you around 40 minutes to complete. The second stage is another online assessment, which is a video-based assessment where you can record yourself, you can tell us why you're passionate about the scheme. And then the last stage is the virtual assessment center, where you get to meet some of our graduates and other NHS staff, and you engage in a day of exercises with other applicants as well. Placements available, as I said, in all the regions, and would be happy to have a chat with you further in our breakout rooms at the end. And the support you get throughout the scheme would be quite a big support package. So you obviously get support from the organizations you do your placements in. You get support from me as your trainee support manager, and we have a team of other support managers as well to help you with your welfare, any academic support you need while you're doing your qualifications on the side. You are also matched with a program manager who is an NHS employee who supports you throughout the 2 years of the program, and you also have mentors and buddies supporting you throughout the scheme as well. So plenty of support available throughout the program. I won't go into detail of this, but you'll see, depending on the specialism you choose, the trajectory varies a bit. So if you are on the HR stream, for example, the first placement takes 12 months. If you're in health analysis, it takes a bit shorter, but you'll see all of our opportunities have this flexi placement in the middle as well, where you get that opportunity to kind of create your learning and choose your learning essentially by identifying an organization you want to join for around 2 months. So that is it from me. We have the link there to our website. We have an FAQ section. The applications close in around 2 weeks. So do apply if you're interested, and happy to answer any questions. Thanks so much.
That's great, Eric. Thank you very much. And then we're going to hand over to Martha Bellamy, who is with the Civil Service Fast Stream. Tell us a bit about that.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. Can you see me and hear me? Yeah, great to meet you all, and pleasure to be speaking to you this morning. So I'm here to set out to you why I think the Civil Service Fast Stream is a fantastic first employer and a really great opportunity for you all leaving uni and looking for sort of really interesting, diverse roles that have a good level of responsibility as a young graduate, but have lots of support around you, so they're not sort of intimidating, and sort of, yeah, very supportive roles, and a lot to get sunk into. So I don't know how much you all know about the Civil Service Fast Stream, but a few bits from me, and happy to take questions as well. So the Fast Stream is actually the top Times graduate employer, that's been that way for the last 3 years, I think. So clearly lots of you are keen to apply. It's a 3 to 4 year scheme that can vary in length. So some are 3, some are 4, depends on which scheme you choose. But I'll go into further details in a minute. There are 15 different leadership and specialist schemes, and I will share my screen now to set out a few of those. So there are a lot of different schemes to get them to try out, and on your application form you can put a number of them down, and they have different tests and assessment processes depending on which ones you get through to. Some of these schemes involve a professional qualification, which is a really great bonus. So for example, the commercial Fast Stream that one of my friends is on, she's studying for a professional qualification, and they give her a lot of time to do this, so they're very supportive. These roles are nationwide as well. So for example, the journalist scheme, which I'm on, has roles across the whole of the UK. So if you want to stay in Newcastle or in the Newcastle area, there are opportunities for you there as well, and you can emphasize that when you if and when you get a place. Equally, if you don't want to move, that's fine, and you can have a relocation restriction, so you're not sort of pushed to go to the opposite end of the country if you don't need to, don't want to. What else did I say? Yeah, so there are lots. So each of these schemes have opportunities to join diverse networks as part of those schemes. So for example, you have the Civil Service Environment Network, you have the Civil Service Women's Network, which I'm involved in. There are more fun sort of networks as well, like Bake Off Network or lots of other support out there for you. So it's a very social scheme. In terms of other support that's offered to you, you're given a talent development manager for the whole 3 to 4 years that you're on the scheme. So this is one person who will support you throughout those years, who will help you find a good role for each year. So for example, if you're on the generalist scheme, you might be in the Home Office 1 year, which is like domestic policy, for example, immigration, or some crime policy. And then the next year you go to a different department in government, and you might be doing environment work in DEFRA, which is the environment department, but you have the same talent development manager. So they can track your progress, and I found my talent development manager very helpful. So that's something to plug, I think. I would also say that you know, even within the schemes, there are opportunities to try out new roles as well. So I'm in the generalist scheme, but within that, there are some internal streams you can apply for. So if you're interested in foreign policy, so our relationships with other countries, and sort of global politics, you can get involved in one of the streams there, which I'm doing at the moment, and it's really fascinating. Or you can do, there's even a number 10 stream if you want to get involved, Downing Street. So there's really so much out there, and I would encourage you to read the descriptions for each schemes quite closely, and maybe apply to more than you think you're interested in, because it's one application, so you might as well tick a few boxes, and you know, when you're doing the test, they apply to lots of the schemes, so do be open and don't pigeonhole yourself too early on that. So yeah, to sum up, why I think the civil service is a good employer, and why I applied, and why I'm keen to stick around. I think it's a very supportive, diverse network. They're trying to really boost regional roles, trying to get out of this sort of old-fashioned mentality about what a government employee is. There's a lot of responsibility if you want it from a young age, so you don't need to, but if you are interested in that, you can be, you know, 23, 24, 25 and doing some really interesting work that maybe some of your friends won't be doing in other companies, because it's a sort of all hands to the pump mentality. And yes, and there's something for everyone, I would say, as well. So depending on your interests, you can chart your own development path with your manager, and you're guaranteed a promotion after 3 to 4 years, which is fantastic, and quite a salary leap as well, if that interests you. So really fantastic grad scheme, and yes, happy to take any questions and share the slides at the end via Angela and Roslyn. Thank you.
That's great, Martha. Thank you very much. So that was fantastic, and I'd like to thank all of our panelists for a really interesting session. There's now an opportunity for you to ask our panelists some questions. So you can do this by typing your question within the chat box, or alternatively by clicking on the raise hand function in the reactions tab. Once you've spoken, we ask that you click on the lower hand button so that our speakers can identify any further questions from other attendees, and press your mute button. So if you've got any questions, if you type those into the chat box or raise your hand. Okay, I've got a couple of questions that perhaps get the ball rolling with. Yeah, I guess an interesting question for you all really is, what key attributes do you look for from applicants? Does anyone want to start on that one?
I can start. So we generally look for competencies. So we don't look for you to have any particular skills, so you don't need to have worked with children already or worked in school already. Any experience with that, any experience mentoring is amazing, and definitely mention that. But what we're looking for is more those soft skills. We are there to fully train you as a teacher. So if you are looking to apply, what I would advise you doing is have a look at our competencies, which you can find on our website, as that's what we'll be looking for you to demonstrate throughout the application process and the development centre process as well. Again, they don't need to be within a teaching or working with young people, but if you can show us examples of when you've shown good communication, you've shown the ability to reflect on feedback within, whether that's university, part-time work, volunteering, that is absolutely fine. So it's those transferable skills that we're looking for, and then we'll train you on the rest.
Brilliant, thanks Sophie. Any thoughts, Martha?
Yeah, I would say very similar on the civil service fast stream as well. So there's a real emphasis on being open to learning new skills, and we provide a lot of training as well. So in the first year of the scheme, there are a few training days and training courses you can sign up for. Some of them are more specific, technical, hard skills. Others are softer, but I think more helpful. So for example, how to present confidently, how to manage a team. So there's lots of great training out there. When you're applying, I would also look at the civil service competencies, which you can also find online, because those set out the values and the skills that we want civil servants to use and develop. And at the assessment centre as well, you're not asked specifics on, foreign policy or environment policy or anything like that. It's about how you act in a scenario, and it's about teamwork and presenting and being open to new ideas. So do look at the competencies as well. Thank you.
Great, thanks Martha.
Can I come in? I think I would say in the NHS GMTS scheme, so I would say would be looking for candidates who share our inclusive mindset. We do focus our people strategy on fostering belonging in the NHS. So there would be that diversity and inclusion element, but also the NHS mission of providing really high quality care. So I would encourage any trainees on our program to take every initiative they can in those 2 years to reach out to new people, put themselves forward to be on different working groups, seize every opportunity they have, and also a passion, I guess, to become a future NHS leader. I know that the current chief executive of NHS England and Improvement was a former GMTS trainee, so they're really, the opportunities really are endless. So we would be looking for someone who wants to lead the NHS through the future challenges.
Excellent, thank you.
If I can just add to it, we are not looking for, role descriptions. We are not looking usually for essential roles. It's just common sense. People with good communication skills, people who can understand issues surrounding homelessness and domestic violence and drug addictions and so on. Because we do give a training, there is induction, safeguarding adults, usually keeping boundaries and so on. At least it's just common sense. We are more than welcome to train you how to do the things you need to do. So there is no fear there. You can just join us and we'll look after you.
Excellent, thank you. And an interesting question, what are your organisation's equality and diversity policies? Or at least not necessarily policy, but what is your position on equality and diversity, would you say?
So as someone who has been working on diversity and inclusion in my previous role, so we do focus on all aspects of the Equality Act. So we have the protected characteristics ranging from, age, sexuality, disability, ethnicity. So we have different work streams aiming to foster belonging amongst those marginalized communities. So one of the projects we have, for example, is the Workforce Race Equality Standard, where different NHS trusts get they analyze their metrics on workforce belonging amongst ethnic minority colleagues, and we have the same for our disabled workforce as well. And we do have we have the staff networks as well, who do a lot of work on different minority communities, and how to make the NHS a really good place to work for them. So I'd be personally really interested to chat to anyone about diversity and inclusion, as it's one of my personal interests as well.
Excellent. Thanks, Eric. Does
I
anyone
mean,
else have-
changing lives, we are really, it's very key to get actually people from all sorts of backgrounds. You know, Doncaster service, it got volunteers from 8 different countries. And it's just really a mixture of all of the people who would like to contribute. It's absolutely excellent environment. We've got a very special volunteer coordinators looking after it as well. But really, you know, trying to look proactively in how do we advertise and where do we advertise for the roles is very important. And as I said, we are very keen to embed all people from all backgrounds to which we can give support while they're there.
Fantastic.
Yeah, similar in the civil service, there's a real emphasis on having more diverse employees and sort of changing the way that people think about a problem. So I think it's about sort of, encouraging people from different backgrounds to apply, because actually when you're forming policy and trying to represent the whole country, you can't just be in a sort of artificial bubble of one group of people. So that has really changed in the last sort of 5 to 10 years, I would say. I know, for example, in the Foreign Office where I worked for a year, it used to be very sort of old-fashioned, very male. Now lots of young women there, which is fantastic. Lots of great networks for women to join as well, and for ethnic minorities too. And things like later on in your career, obviously it's a bit early now to think about this, but things like maternity, paternity leave is really encouraged. Flexible leave. So they're a very flexible employer, I would say.
With Teach First, we are very, very big on diversity inclusion. It's so important for our pupils, to be taught by diverse teachers and for the curriculum to really show that as well. So for our trainees, we do have affinity groups, so things such as BAME affinity groups, LGBTQ+ affinity group we have. And we're also really big on actually making change and using our influence as well. So we actually built a manifesto featuring proposals that we believe need to be adopted by policymakers. So things such as missing pages. We wrote a report on the lack of authors from ethnic minorities in the English curriculum, and we then crowdsourced book recommendations and built a bank of resources to support teachers. We ran a STEMism campaign where we impacted on and reflected on the fact careers in science, technology, engineering and maths are really dominated by men. Only 12% of engineers are female and 13% of STEM workers at management level are women. And that's something that we really want to encourage girls to be taking these subjects further. More recently, we've actually partnered with Lewis Hamilton and his foundation, Mission 44, and we have a shared goal to recruit and train 150 Black STEM teachers over the next 2 years. Again, just to really, really support our pupils in the classroom to making a difference. So we support both our trainees and our pupils, as we think it's so important for us to be as diverse and inclusive as we possibly can.
That's great. Thank you all for that. And we've got a question coming from Joel, and it's specifically for you, Sophie. And Joel would like to know, what are the main benefits of Teach First over a PGCE?
Good question. Thank you for that. So we're a little bit of a different route from the PGCE. So our route is more hands-on and more in the classroom, and it's over the full 2 years as opposed to the 1. So whereas with the PGCE, I believe that it's more university-based. You have placements at different schools. Ours is more, you have your training over summer and then you're teaching full-time from September. As mentioned, we do fully support you, and you do have that mentor and development lead to make sure you are getting that support that you do need. And we will be placing you in a school where you can make a big difference as well. So schools in those more disadvantaged communities, as mentioned. So it is challenging, but it is so rewarding as well. And we also put you through the postgraduate diploma in education. So that's more credits than the PGCE, but it is done over a longer period of time, which is why. And that can be topped up to a master's as well with an additional 3rd year. So if that is something that you are considering, we have that support for you there as well. I do support everyone from Newcastle, so if you would like more information, please feel free to get in touch and we can have a further discussion at a later date as well. That's completely fine.
Fantastic, Sophie, thank you. And I guess another question from me, what are your top tips for applying to each of your organisations? If I can perhaps come to you first, Saeed. What would you say your top tips are?
Yeah, that's very simple. You know, every single role on our website has a key responsibilities and skills experiences which you have to reflect on in order to apply. So literally, you know, because there are so many different roles, depending what are you after, of course, you read that key responsibilities part of the role description. And you try to reflect on what you did in the past, no matter how little you actually did, you know, to whichever point which is made there. There are usually bullet points there. You need to sort of reflect and find out and let us know what did you do. And usually what we do when we receive an application form, if it doesn't contain some skills that you might experience in the past, we ask you to try to elaborate more on what you did and you know what you can do. And then what we do, usually we send that application form to a relevant project manager nationwide, and they organize an informal chat with that person to find out about what they did, you know, would they be suitable? And if they are happy with that person, then what we do then recruitment, signing some forms, if needed be, there is a DBS check and so on. And then this is how actually it starts to roll, you know, that application is starting to materialize into the role which might be filled by that very volunteer.
That's brilliant, Sayed. Thank you. And Eric, would you be able to give us an answer on that one? Just your top tips for applying.
Sure. Yeah, I just say be yourself. You know, we've designed our recruitment processes to be as, you know, not intimidating. So there's the video exercise, for example, where I've gone through this myself a few weeks ago when we were piloting it, and you're just expected to upload videos of yourself and just tell us about how you would tackle different situations, what you would prioritize, etc. So we really just want to get to know about you and your passion. So there's no kind of expectation to submit a perfect application. Just be yourself, tell us why you're interested in GMTS, and I think a lot of your values also will shine through when you do the virtual assessment centers, when you get to interact with the other candidates. So not a daunting experience at all. Just be yourself would be my advice.
Fantastic. Martha, are you able to give us an answer for that one?
Yeah, sure. So my advice would be to really carefully read all the information before each test, because there are quite a few bitty stages in the application process, and definitely leave enough time to do the tests, because often when you apply, it gives you a sort of a few days to do the test before the window closes. So make sure you haven't got a few busy days ahead of you. On the video interview, again, be very open and just be yourself, because similar to what we heard earlier, it's about your values and the way you work rather than what you know that shows through. So I think the most important thing is to sort of show that you're collaborative and open and not dominating as well. I think there's a real emphasis on, even though this is a leadership pipeline, trying to get away from that old-fashioned idea of a sort of dominating leader and actually have a very open, collaborative way of working. So if you can show that in your video interview, in your assessment center, that will really help, I think.
Brilliant. That's great. Thank you. And Sophie, are you able to answer that for us?
Yeah, of course. So I would say have a look at our mission. We want to know why you're passionate about Teach First and what we do. As mentioned earlier, the competencies are really big, and our application form is a situational judgment test where I would just say be yourself. It's just asking questions around how you'd respond to different situations in the classroom. And then it is those competency questions. So I would just say think about your structure. I would recommend using the CAR structure, which stands for context, action, and result. So most of your answer should be around the actions you took, and we want to hear what you did and the impact you had on the results. So just take your time with those, and if you are comfortable, ask friends or family to have a look through who weren't in that situation. We often find that sometimes applicants fall down through not providing enough detail, as we can't assume anything, unfortunately. So we need really in-depth kind of context around those situations. So just make sure you're giving us enough detail. I would also advise you to speak with one of our advisors. So we have recruitment officers who their role is dedicated to just providing that application support. So it'll be my colleague Felix. For anyone from Newcastle, he'll be giving you a ring once you open the application. So I would just say, make sure you speak with him. It's not a telephone interview, it's not to assess you, it's purely to give you that support. So definitely take that support as it comes as well.
That's great, Sophie, thank you. And I think just to kind of quickly finish off our question section, it'd be really nice to hear from each of you what your favourite part of the job is. Do we want to start again with Syed? Just to...
Yes, of course. Yes, you can. Well, I graduated to something completely different than I'm doing now. Some time ago, I was a vet, but then, I came to this country in 1992 and started to work for the charity sector. I truly enjoyed every second of it, because you know yourself that you are there to try to help people in need. And, previously I was working in the refugee sector. I'm working now, for the people who are homeless, which are so dear to my heart. And knowing that you can make just one slight difference in their lives is something I wake up in the morning saying, yes, and let's go and do it, and try to do my best to do that. So this is the pleasure of my work, that I know that people who are going to get involved as volunteers in such instance will really support people in need, and these people will directly benefit from them being involved in such activities.
That's brilliant, thank you. And Eric, how about you?
I think my best moment is when at the end of the scheme, a trainee comes to me and says they found a job and they want to hand in their notice, which is like, obviously it's a sad experience that they're living, but I'm like, yes, it works. You found a job, and that's what we were meant to do anyway. So I think supporting someone through that full journey and building that connection with them and kind of seeing them leave, I think is a really emotional but positive experience.
Brilliant. Martha?
I think the best thing about the civil service fast stream is the diversity of roles and opportunities you can get involved in, and the impact you can have at quite a young age as well. Which, as I said, doesn't need to be intimidating if you don't want it to be. But for example, my friend is very passionate about tree policy. So he is now sort of leading a small team of people working on planting trees and net zero and a lot of what's in the news right now, you can get involved in and have an impact. Or you can do work on foreign policy that I'm doing, for example, where you're writing kind of briefing material for the Prime Minister or for another figure. So you can, whatever you want, you can get involved in. It's astonishing sort of what exists in the civil service, and the impact you can have at a young age, and the support that comes with doing that is fantastic. So that's what I would say there.
That's great, Martha, thank you. And Sophie, yeah, your favourite part of the job?
So I would say for me, since moving to a charity, it's just been quite different. So I come from more of a corporate background. I worked for a big automotive PLC before here, and then worked in sales prior to that. And I hadn't really thought too much about the charity aspect. And then as soon as I started working here, I just absolutely love it. Everyone is so committed to making change, so committed to things like diversity and inclusion. It's just such a wonderful company to be part of. And a big part of my role is speaking with students like yourselves and really supporting you until the end when you go and start training. And I think that's the favourite part of my job, just generally getting to know you all, getting to know your motivations, and just seeing and knowing how wonderful teachers you will be. I think it's always sad kind of sending that email before some institute out training starts, just saying, best of luck. I always feel a bit like a proud big sister, kind of sitting by and seeing from how you have developed from a student to that professional and being ready to go into your next chapter. That's definitely the most rewarding part of the job for me.
Brilliant, thank you, Sophie. So that's us. We're coming towards the end of the session, so we'll stop the recording now.